What up my peeps, it's your boy, the Bee-Man, Barney the Purple Dinosaur, canonically speaking. And today I have yet another creepypasta to read. This is a very classic and massively horrifying one called, Lunar Game. This is from My Little Pony by the way. I think that this one might be just as scary as Sonic.exe. Quick warning once again, if you are easily frightened by the images, then you might want to stop the video. Anyways, let's start reading this screwiness. On April 3, 2011, a post was made on Equestria Daily labeled Lunar Game. It appeared harmless enough, so a few bronies downloaded it only to quickly realize it was not what it seemed. The beginnings of the first 3 games and Lunar Game 5 use Super Pony Beat songs as their soundtrack. It is unknown who wrote their stories. The first game starts out with you playing as Princess Luna on a simplistic platform level. You are able to jump and move around using the arrow keys. But after about 20 seconds of playing, or a few more seconds if you're standing still, the screen cuts to one of 2 sinister images: a Pinkie Pie with Zalgoft eyes, or an inauspicious-looking apple bloom. At this point, one of 4 ominous remixes of songs from the show begins to play, and you realize that the game will neither close with the escape key nor Alt plus F4. The mouse will become stuck at the bottom right of the screen as well, while the game window stays on top of every other window. The only way to close the game at this point is to open Task Manager, via Ctrl plus Alt plus Del, and end the process by navigating to the program using the arrow keys and pressing Enter or Alt plus E. Otherwise, the game automatically closes on its own after a while. When users looked at the location they'd saved the game in after it closed, they found a multitude of pictures, depending on what image the player ended up with in the game, and text files labeled "The end is nay." The text within these files would also contain that same simple phrase, "desktop screenshot." At first, most bronies thought the program was to some kind of sadistic form of computer virus under the guise of an indie Friendship is Magic fan game. But after a while, and many virus scans, it was confirmed to just be a rather mean prank. The game itself did not modify or delete any files on the user's computer, it only saved screenshots and text documents. Still, when the user downloaded the program to their desktop, deleting all the pictures and text documents generated would prove to be quite annoying, unless they were smart enough to keep everything in its own folder. On May 30th, 2011, another game was submitted to Equestria Gaming. This one started out similarly to the previous, but with slightly more enhanced graphics and an improved sprite character. As you begin playing, you are told immediately that you can hold Shift to run. After you get going, though, you start to notice cracks forming in the ground. As you move farther, the cracks get bigger and bigger, until they completely cover the ground. Then, suddenly, the screen cuts to a Zalgoft image of Pinkman shown at the top of the page, while white noise plays for about a second, then flashes back to the game. Now the background and the blocks are all tinted dark red, and you can only move very slowly as some disturbing music plays in the background. This drove some players mad. At this point, the only thing to do is go forward until you reach a giant chasm in the ground and fall down into it. While plummeting, the background fades to black, with Luna eventually fading to after a game over screen of her plummeting is revealed. The image used at this point is an edited version of Luna's descent. More creepy music begins playing, and after a moment, the game closes. During this process, you are unable to close the game normally. And after the first flash, you are unable to move your mousey just like in the first Lunar Game. The major differences between this game and the first are the considerably improved graphics, and that Lunar 2 does not create any extra files, which the first one was infamous for. The third installment was released on June 11, 2011. Once again, you start out as Luna in a very simplistic platform world, a looping environment, but this time, it's a forest setting. With the same controls as last time, Luna is able to run to either the left or right of the screen. As she does so, the screen gets darker, and after a while of running, the background music begins to slow down and distort, continuing until it is interrupted by static. The trees are now dark and bloody. Disturbing music begins to play once again, and occasionally, if you listen closely, you can hear ponies chattering in the background. After this part, you will eventually run into a giant gap in the ground. It's possible to jump over this hole, which will cause a distorted version of Flushy yelling "come out." To play, this will only happen with the first jump. You can continue running, but the level will keep looping. The player is then forced to fall down the hole. A very distorted "Love Me" can be heard from Flushy, and one of several randomly chosen Zalgoft pony images is flashed. When the screen returns to normal, Luna is lying on the ground, which is similar to what she's been running on the whole time, her legs severed and blood everywhere. After waiting for about 5 seconds, she opens her eyes, and then the screen flashes to an extreme close-up of her disfigured face. A blood-curdling shriek is uttered before the game closes. A fourth game was introduced to the community on July 9, 2011. Once again, you start out as Princess Luna, standing on a nice grassy cliff beneath a blue sky with some kind of cheerful music playing. Though there is only one place you're able to go, off of that cliff. After you jump down, you hit the ground at a high speed and hear a splat as the screen turns black. You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you? Appears on the screen, and after a few moments, the game closes. Trying to reopen the game in any way is pointless, because after a few seconds, it reopens on its own, having turned into a background task for a few moments. The words "it didn't have to turn out like this," and "you didn't have to die," are presented to the player. A few seconds later, a blood splatter appears onto the screen, jarring itself madly around and displaying the text "But now you're in my world" as a roar plays. Next, you see Princess Luna in a new setting, shooting down from the top left corner of the screen and hitting the ground. The world is all red, almost appearing as if you're in pony hell. At this point, you have to quickly sprint right and avoid the obstacles in your path before the darkness closing from the left catches up to you. If you get caught in the darkness, it will flash several creepy images of Pinkie Pie. One creepy picture is from a similar game, Dreamy Rainbow. You see the same thing when you run into the creepy Pinkie Pie in the next part. If you do manage to get past all of the crazy terrain, you are still forced to jump off a cliff into the red darkness below, yet only here do you get sent into the next part. This one is the craziest. It starts with Zalgoft text that seems to glitch out. When it goes away, some sort of messed up 8-bit music plays in the background while bugged-looking blocks appear on the screen. The blocks will randomly change appearance, even if you don't do anything. All the way to the right is a large wall that you cannot get over. Your only choice is to head for higher ground. The higher you get, the darker the screen gets, making it very hard to navigate above the blocks to get on top of where you started. When you go back all the way left on the top layer and jump over a pillar, a creepy Pinkie appears close by, but disappears very quickly. Going back to the right, the music suddenly gets faster, and the blocks start to fade away. Luna is forced to run from the darkness while avoiding the terrain again. If you are able to reach the end, you run right into the same creepy Pinkie, and the screen goes black. You hear a heartbeat fade in and see the same iconic image of Pinkamena from Party of One. The heartbeat gets louder and the image gets lighter until it suddenly cuts to another gory version of the picture with static. The picture eventually fades out again as you hear Pinkie Pie laughing in the background. The game will not let you reopen it, that is, unless you use a special replay program, or delete a file the game created in the player's C:/Windows/temp. Instead, it simply says, "Your fate is already sealed." A prequel to the original series of games was posted on August 15, 2011. Just like the previous installments, You begin the game as Luna, but this time, in Princess Celestia's castle. When you talk to Celestia, she tells you that it would be nice for you to go out and make some friends. After you exit to the right, you move to a grassy area with nice music playing. All 6 of the main cast can be found on the map, and each one has their own problem that you can help with. Depending on who you return the lost item back to, you can play one of 6 different levels, each with a different item. After you collect 49 of the items on the map, you are able to collect the 50th, which is black and white. When you touch it, the music turns to a loud thunder. After that, the only thing you can do is continue on, at which point the ground suddenly disappears from underneath you. Some creepy music starts playing as the screen fades to black. The screen flashes white, and an image of Nightmare Moon appears. After another flash, Nightmare Moon's glowing eyes open. The screen goes back to where you stopped almost immediately, but everything is tinted red. After you continue back to the previous area, another creepy song begins to play, and the ponies you talk to say that Pinkie Pie is looking for you. When you talk to Pinkie Pie, she tells you that she wants to throw you another party, but shortly afterwards, the screen turns black, and the dark item you got from before appears while you hear whispering in the background. After the screen returns to normal, Pinkie Pie goes on about the party. The screen then turns black again, with more whispering and the text "Kill her" appearing at the very bottom. The screen eventually goes back to Pinkie Pie continuing to talk before turning black one last time, with longer whispering and large words saying "Kill her now." After the screen goes back, you see Pinkie Pie asking if you're feeling okay. Then the screen goes black again. This time, nothing else appears, but the music stops and you hear some sound effects and cutting noises. When the screen fades back in, you see yourself standing alone, with Pinkie Pie with a red sky behind you. Pinkie Pie has a slash going through her, and the words "B. But. Why?" are at the bottom of the screen. After a few moments, the top half of her body begins sliding off, and the game closes. A few seconds later, it opens again and the distorted "Love Me" noise from Luna Game 3 plays, along with a disturbing image of Pinkamena and text that says "This isn't over." The game closes again shortly after. If you try to reopen the game, it says the past cannot be changed and closes out, unless you follow the same instructions mentioned previously. On August 22, 2012, the official Luna Game 5 appeared, titled Luna Game End. It wasn't so focused on scares like the others, but still had a creepy vibe that will keep you on edge. The game starts you off as the well-known Princess Luna, standing on a flat strip of grass at night with happy music playing in the background. After a short amount of walking, you're greeted by an oh-so-familiar cliff. This time, though, when you jump off it, you safely land on the ground. After a bit more walking, Luna begins to slow down, and eventually, the text "I'm really tired" appears over her head. She collapses a moment later, stating "I'll just rest for a moment." A broken bar. The screen slowly fades to black afterwards. After the music stops, you suddenly appear in a completely white world, with only a single black line as the ground below you. Walk to the right some and you'll spot an 8-bit limbo sprite from Luna Game 4 going nuts in the air. Touching it will cause strange background sounds to begin and the ground below you to disappear, but fear not, you don't fall long before hitting some kind of invisible ground. After walking to the right more, you'll start to notice sky blocks and ground blocks appearing in a random order, eventually building an entire sky behind you. After another few moments, a strange screech in the same style as the odd background sounds will play, and the floor will disappear again. This time, when you fall, the blue sky turns into an empty, dark red sky, and a different creepy soundtrack plays. After you hit the ground again, you're greeted by ground blocks with a similar line design to that of Luna Game 4's Hell stage. Continuing to walk right will reveal a smaller cliff, one which you can see to the bottom of. Jumping off it will trigger the ground blocks to randomly start turning into the 8-bit limbo blocks from Lunar Game 4, the second soundtrack in the 8-bit limbo world. Incoming darkness, to play, and the dark shadow to start eating up the screen to your left. If you don't hurry, the shadow will immediately eat you and take you to the next map. If you manage to outrun it, you're greeted with several obstacle courses, but the result in the end is the same, though how you get there does affect the game's ending. After the darkness takes you to the next room, you find Luna lying back down on the ground from the first scene where she took a nap. Really low, creepy music starts playing, and after a moment, she stands up, or if you press a key. Holding shift is disabled. Walking to the right will reveal some shadow ponies. The silhouettes of Rainbow Dash, Twilight Sparkle, Rarity, Flushy, and Applejack can all be found, as well as an unknown filly. Walking next to some of the ponies triggers text above their heads. At random moments, static will flash across the screen and white noise will be heard. When this happens, the text above the ponies' heads will change, and the silhouettes of all of them except for the filly will change back into their original sprites, though lacking any pupils. The static only lasts a moment. After walking all the way to the right of the screen, it does not happen again, and you're able to run. After walking a while back to the left, you're greeted by Nightmare Moon, where you lose control over Luna. Another creepy song starts playing at this point, accompanied by a heartbeat. As Luna walks towards Nightmare Moon, loud static plays once, and fan art of the previous Luna games flashes on screen. This happens one more time before you reach Nightmare Moon, and when you do, the screen goes black. If you died before reaching the end with the darkness, the game will end for you at this point. Otherwise, you are taken to another place. The background is completely black here, but as you move, cracks start appearing in the ground below you. It disappears after becoming completely cracked. Your only option is to go right at this point, and when the ground below you is gone, you're shown another path just below where you were that continues right. From this point on, you can continue as far right as you can, but in the end, you will always fall. Once that happens, Luna is replaced with Nightmare Moon for a split second as static and white noise plays. After another moment, you hear a splat, and the screen goes black. Slowly, the screen fades back in, and you see the same dead Luna from Lunar Game 3, except instead of another screamer, the game just closes itself. However, if you go through Luna 4 and 0 again to re-experience the journey and survive the darkness, you will be greeted by a happy ending. It's a similar scene from the Lunar Game 0 demo, and everything is alright in it. The main six ask Luna what has happened, and she says she had a nightmare. She shakes the entire experience off as if it was nothing. But in the end, for a fraction of a second, the pink Amina sprite from Lunar Game 4 flashes on screen, before the game closes. A fan-made addition to the series was submitted on February 29, 2012. The game starts out like any Luna game, with you in control of Luna and a bit of text telling you to hold shift to run. Everything begins as bright and cheerful, with happy music, specifically, Eurobe 8 Brony's remix of Call Upon the Seaponies. After running around for a while, you run into Angel Bunny. Once you get up close to him, a Metal Gear Solid style exclamation point and sound plays, and he runs off. At this point, you move to the next room over. It is now nighttime, and the music changes to another fairly cheerful, but slower song, Luna's Anthem. Here, in this level, you have to jump around the platforms and collect 9 rabbits. While getting these rabbits, you will come across a pit which is covered from the top, so that you can't fall into it. Once you collect the 8th rabbit, this pit will be open. You have to make your way over to it and jump in. Once down the pit, you run into another rabbit, this time colored red instead of white. Here's where things get creepy. Once you collect this 9th and final rabbit, the cheerful music halts and a passage to another room is opened, with Pinkie Pie's silhouette standing in the doorway. Upon entering, A dark red sky and a number of other shadow ponies can be seen roaming about. As you start to walk, the crying of a Left 4 Dead witch can be heard. Static will flicker as creepy music plays. This background static will light up the pony silhouettes to reveal their Zalghost features, but this lasts only a split second each time, and is completely random, unless you use the Easter egg described below to trigger it yourself, so you can't get a good look at them. In order from left to right, the shadow ponies are Blinky Pie, who will say, "Mommy? Where are you? I can't see." Twilight Sparkle, who disappears after the first flash, but if you use the Easter egg to trigger another flash quickly enough, you'll see that she's actually just falling off the south end of the screen. Derpy Hooves, who will say, in black lettering, "Help us ... please," and Lyra Heartstrings. You walk further and further into this creepy landscape, past numerous shadows. Pretty soon, the audio will begin to shift from creepy music to sounds animalistic in nature. They can be best described as rabbit-eating noises. Once you reach a certain point, the camera scrolls on its own, not as you move, and you have to run to keep up with it. When at the bottom, you're given the impression that something is about to happen. Should you stop or go left, causing the camera to completely pass you, doing this is pretty much suicide. You are confronted with a hyper-realistic Pinkamena screamer. The sound effect is the same as from Luna Game 3, when Luna is the screamer, and the game closes. When you go to the right, you will reach a room with an oversized Pinky in the middle. It looks normal, but will turn darker and then fade into a Zalghost version of the same picture, shown on the right. When this is finished, platforms will appear. Use them to jump up into Pinky's mouth. The screen will turn black, and the sound of something being eaten and swallowed, presumably you, Luna, will play. Next, Luna is in a maze, which is actually Giga's lair from the video game Earthbound, even using the same background noise. She is trapped by Pinkamena, who will bring up doppelgangers. They disappear, and you have to go up to a larger space. In the orb in the center of the room, actually called the Devil's Machine in Earthbound, you see Nightmare Moon's head appear, followed by the words, "You know what you have to do." Proceed down until it fades to black again. When it returns normal, you'll see Luna lying on the ground where you picked up the final bunny, except she's dead and bloodied like in Luna Game 3. There will be a black screen with the words, "You're next." After that, a Zalghost Pinky pops up for a split second. The game closes as the CD tray opens by itself. If you change your system date to Friday the 13th, you will get a special, one-time-only cutscene in which Pinkamena faces Nightmare Moon. You can't do anything but watch, of course. Nightmare Moon reveals the reason she killed Pinky, saying that a party doesn't make up for 1,000 years of suffering. Pinkamena is scared and tries to talk some sense into the princess, but to no avail. Then, Nightmare Moon breaks the fourth wall, SHH. Someone is listening. It shortly cuts back to the two ponies, only to end in a screamer, a bloody Scootaloo, along with the line, "Leave this place." The game then closes itself. Pressing the I, K, and T keys all at the same time will trigger one of two Easter eggs, depending on what part of the game you're in. If you do this before the game turns creepy, you'll trigger a Zalghost Pinky Screamer, from one of the randomly chosen screamers in Luna Game 3, and the game will close. If you press them in the third room, the one with the red sky, the background static will play again, which can be used to reveal a Pinky sprite staring at the screen, or an Ursa Minor just before the chase starts. After you enter the room with the giant transforming Pinky, pressing the keys will do nothing. It is unknown why the creator of this game chose those specific letters for the keys. Using Alt plus F4 or Escape will close the game if you haven't progressed to the creepy part, which is strange considering that 5 is the first Luna game in which you could close out of the game yourself. However, if you try using Alt plus F4 in the third room or later, the window will still close, but only for a few seconds. After that, it opens itself back up, and you can hear Pinkie Pie laughing at your failure. Using escape after the game gets creepy will not close the game, but you will still hear laughing, though it's not the same laughing sound. You can also use Ctrl plus Alt plus L to close the window at any point in the game, but if you do it in the creepy half, a heavily distorted version of Flushy yelling come out. The same one from Lunar Game 3, will play, though the game won't stop you from closing it. Regardless, you still won't be able to move your mouse cursor, so you'll have to use the arrow keys and enter to select and end the program in your task manager. Since its wake, Lunar Game and its many sequels and variants have struck terror into the minds of their players. Even though the series doesn't merge itself with the real world like most other creepypastas, many regard it and its successors as creepypasta, most likely as a result of the series never accrediting its sources, plus the fact that the author of the games has through much effort remained anonymous. My god, that was absolutely horrifyingly traumatizing like the other creepypastas I read. Well, I guess that really shows that creepypastas really exist in the internet. Well, that's 4 creepypastas so far. Thanks for watching everyone. If you like to see me read more creepypastas like this one, please let me know. I will see you all in my next Barney era. Goodbye.